everybody. Wow, I'm right here. So I'm back in Dubai again. I'd like to thank the organizers. I'd like to thank Dr. Marwan for having me come on first. All right, so you guys are in the blockchain business, or you want to be in the blockchain business. Who owns any cryptocurrency in the audience? Raise your hand. Wow, that's a lot. So that's a picture of me in Venezuela. That's not this one? I don't know. Yeah, it works. That's my first computer. I always throw that in there so people know that I'm a weirdo. 1978. I used to sell a lot of political data to politicians. I ended up owning 12,000 domain names because it's the first digital scarcity. We built no more hotels to get a room in the 90s. And that was like an Airbnb precursor. And we also built livery cab, but none of the drivers had a smartphone. Wow. What is that? So I always talk about how innovation is permissionless. Most innovation is permissionless. And I'm saying it again. And I got this little cartoon here. Like the Wright brothers, who invented the airplane, they had a bicycle shop. I imagine that people walk by in the middle of the night and said, oh, we got to make the wings longer and they'll fly longer and fly further. And people probably thought they were crazy. But they did it. So I usually talk a little bit about myself, probably too much. But a lot of people don't know who I am. Back in 2013, I opened the first Bitcoin Center, the first live digital trading floor, and I happened to open it right next to the stock exchange on Wall Street. It was 100 feet from the stock exchange on the first floor. I was in the real estate. I wrote real estate software, and I ended up going into the real estate business. And then there was a big crash in '87, and they said it was the width of Greenspan's briefcase was determined the fact that we had the crash, one of the reporters said, when I heard later. And I got a little outraged, and I wanted to learn all I could about, monetary policy. And as you know, you got the $100 trillion Zimbabwean note. You got the Venezuelan Bolivar over there, and I throw those in. And I went into politics. Not me, I didn't run, but I was on the back end. I wrote software, I helped candidates, and we tried to help many candidates to build the candidates that promoted competing currencies. So I worked very hard on all these campaigns. A few of them, 3 of them were presidential, 4 were presidential campaigns. And, worked really hard on that. And we lost. Because many people would, the reporters would say all these bad things, and we wouldn't make it. At the end, even if we were winning, they would destroy our candidate. Certain reporters, certain economists, and I thought I threw my life away because it was like 20 some odd years went by, and I didn't have a win on the presidential side, and I really thought I threw my life away. And then, I found Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, to me, was something that couldn't be destroyed on election day, something that was decentralized, permissionless. Innovation would happen on this blockchain. So I went straight through. I did everything I could to promote Bitcoin because at first everyone says, oh, that's little kids' money, that's video game money, that's drug money. The criminals use it only. That's what they said about the internet, by the way, when I started out in the internet. So I listened to my dad, and my dad made me very strong. And I said, well, I have this huge real estate business in Manhattan. I said, forget it. I'm throwing everything away, and I'm going to promote Bitcoin and blockchain. That's what I'm going to do. So I opened the exchange, but to do that, the lessons of my father came in, and I said, I was learning how to ride a bicycle, and I was afraid of the other kids. I said, they're oppressing me. He said, they're oppressing you? You must be pretty oppressible. So all the people here in this audience, many people are going to say very weird things to you. It's a little more mainstream now. But you're only going to be as oppressed as you allow yourself to be. So then I said, and he said, there's millions of them out there that are going to try to stop you. There's millions of them that are going to stop you. And I got a quote here. Uh-oh, not anymore. There's millions of them that are going to stop you. You can't listen to them, just move forward. And he said, you'll always have strength while doing good. If you're doing good for the world, no one can stop you. Your strength is going to be multiplied and multiplied. And I said, well, listen, when I'm riding a bicycle, maybe someone's going to block me or get in front of me. Just like when you're starting your Bitcoin or your blockchain businesses, someone's going to try to block you. And he said the whole world, even the whole world, is going to step aside after you know where you're going. Even the whole world will step aside after you know where you're going, after you know where your blockchain business is going to go. The whole world will step aside for you. So that worked. I said, what if I fail? What if I fall? What if you fail in your blockchain business? What if you fall? He said, everyone falls. Everyone fails. You have to get back up. After you get back up, that's why you fall. You fall so you can learn how to get back up. How many times does a kid fall before he learns how to walk? I said, listen, I need more time. Maybe a lot of you think, oh, we need more time before we go live, or we need more time before I start a blockchain business or a Bitcoin business. He said, listen, there's no more time. You get the same amount of time as everybody else. You have to give more of you within that time, more of you per minute. You have to give within the time you have. He said there's an infinite amount of time within every minute just for you. That's why they call it the present. You can unwrap it. After you unwrap that 1 minute and squeeze from it your life, you have to steal from time your life. And that goes in the blockchain business, because if you don't, they're going to pass you by. There's a lot of companies out there. They're moving pretty quick. Then he said, "Tirio den yinesean, tirio den tros," which means a beast you will never become unless you eat beasts. So there are many beasts out there in this world. Like Wall Street is a beast. I have an office on Wall Street. I opened up on Wall Street next to the stock exchange. The reason I did that is to show the world that Bitcoin was not a joke. Blockchain was not a joke. This was in 2013. And I hope it worked. So he said, "Tirio den yinesean, tirio den tros," a beast you'll never become unless you eat beasts. So I went to the street where all the beasts were. And they would send their people to investigate us. But we weren't doing anything wrong. We just let everyone trade for free. I didn't charge anybody. I think it happened. That's our trading floor. We're mentioned all over the world. Courses. There's a documentary on Amazon Prime Hulu, Netflix, banking on Bitcoin. This lady said she only wants dollars. I don't remember what the price was. I think it was like $30 a Bitcoin at the time. And that's one of the scenes. It's pretty funny. We just opened a Bitcoin Center and Blockchain Center in Miami, in that 10-story building there. You can look at blockchaincenter.com. New York made a lot of regulations. I don't want to see that happen over here. Over here, it looks like there's hope for big Bitcoin enterprises and blockchain enterprises because the government seems to be working with the industry, and I believe if they keep going the way they're going, you know, you guys can become the new Wall Street. I believe, you know, the Emirates and Dubai can become the new Wall Street because those old guys over there in the States have jammed it up. They'll only allow instruments that'll bring the price down, like futures. I hope I don't get in trouble for saying that. We build Bitcoin ATM machines. I build voting machines, blockchain voting machines. And I believe in decentralization. I believe that after 10,000 years of centralization, since agriculture, you know, people had many people under them and stuff, that we have this opportunity now in a peer-to-peer fashion to explore and utilize new relationships with people from around the world and, you know, help the underprivileged, the unbanked, people who can't get ahead because they don't have the opportunity. I think now with decentralized currency and things like that, it's going to work out even better for the world. Or not. I mean, if we back the centralized, permissioned blockchains, we'll be in trouble. We have to back the decentralized, permissionless blockchains. Because if we, public blockchains, we have to back those. The private ones are just like a database you have on your computer. I don't think that's going to help the world. It might help Mr. Zuckerberg in his quest for world domination, but I don't think it's going to help everyone else. Sorry about that. So I have a project called ZAP, and what it is I believe that this bonding curve, what we do is you can create a token for your business or your enterprise or something, and you get a free decentralized exchange built in. There's AML KYC, whitelisting of the wallets, and you get a free exchange built in, and you get this algorithmic market maker, so people can buy and sell along this line. And in a world where everything's going to be tokenized, how the heck can you do it? If everything's going to be tokenized, you got to pay, you know, a big exchange, $5 million to put your token up. I don't think that's going to happen. If there's millions of tokens, I think it has to be decentralized and compliant. You know, it has AML KYC wrapped around it. We have a project for oil. We have a project for real estate where we tokenize. It's called bitunits.com, bitunits.com. We tokenize real estate, and people can buy and sell. I mean, there's no project too small. Depending on the regulation, we use Wyoming or Delaware corporations, that it's the law that you're allowed to have your corporate ledger of shares on the blockchain. So because your corporate shares are on the blockchain, and only on the blockchain, you can sell them. So depending on which jurisdiction you're in, depends how many you can sell, with what kind of filings to overseeing agencies. So this is one of those things. This is So people would see the listing of the property, and they'd click there, and it'll bring them to a place to whitelist their wallet, meaning get the AML KYC and say, oh, only your wallet works on this AML KYC, and I want to buy, 1,000 of the, how many? It's got 2,000 tokens outstanding at 1,000 each. I want to buy two of them. So that's $2,000. So you got two out of 22,000 shares of this building, and then the revenue is returned within the smart contract, or if it's specified in a different way. So it's like a decentralized way to tokenize real estate, which is built on the ZAP platform, on the bonding curve, where you get your own exchange, smart contract, and your own automated market maker. I got a bunch of patents years ago. Whoa. Oh, that's back button, sorry. So, I think there are many things to tokenize. We have that project with the oil and stuff. And I believe that this is the time, there's a small window that humanity can embrace decentralization and free itself for once and for all, free itself in a financial fashion, where in the past was very difficult to do. You had to work in a company with all these employees, and somehow you got, and that's just how it worked because of the technology. The technology was hierarchical. Now the world is changing. It's more stegmergic, more people move within an environment and respond to that environment, meaning on the internet. And that's a new, it's incredible what's happened. I mean, the job market today is changing so fast. I don't know how anyone can go through trying to get a job or working for another degree to try to petition someone to get a job. I don't know how they're planning on that really working out. Things are moving just too fast. And, if you're a young person, you better get on the ball because you're going to have problems, is my belief. So I believe that Dubai, like I said before, is a place where it looks like they're playing their cards right. And I believe that you guys have an opportunity to move forward in a bold way and become the new Wall Street. I believe it. Because the old guard has too much to lose. And it's happening today. Every time we try to do something in New York, they have a lot of licenses. I've been grandfathered into the BIT license for the past 5 years. And I can do business, I think, because you never know what you're allowed to do. Anytime you change your business model by 1 millimeter, you have to go and petition the regulators for them to say if it's okay or not. Now this was, this is the birthplace of where most of these big, huge companies occurred. And if that happens in many other places, it's going to be the death of this financial freedom movement. There's a financial monetary revolution for the individual is going to be destroyed. And I don't think anyone wants to do that. No matter how much money you have, you still want people to be happy. You don't want them looking at you funny because you have a lot more money than them. I hope you don't. Because, bad things happen. So with this new technology, this is the only window that we have, I believe, because if we don't use it to free ourselves, there are going to be entities. I mean, there's governments in other parts of the world that they're using face recognition to allow people to get on an airplane. They put you on a no-fly list. They tax you in a different way. They don't let you do certain things if you do certain other things. And so by technology, we can live by technology positively, or we can live negatively with the technology. So it's up to us to innovate in a way that's going to enlarge and help humanity. And that moment is now. It's not going to happen. We don't have much time, you know. In the next 5 years, it's going to be fixed. What's happened, what's occurred. If we're going to be able to free ourselves, like I said, by the permissionless, open source, blockchain, or are they going to, you know, squeeze humanity with the permissioned, private, closed blockchain? It's up to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Would you like to take some questions, Nick, from the audience? Do we have any questions from the audience? Please raise your hand. Any questions from the audience for Nick?
Come on. Yes, sir.
So it's understandable that you're the biggest promoter for permissionless blockchain.
Yes.
But having said that, you know, when it comes to, for example, private healthcare, private information, stuff that businesses that don't want other businesses to even have the metadata for them to know the volume of transactions that are happening. How do you address that in an open blockchain environment? How can we really solve that?
Yeah, well, you can hash, you know, you can hash all the information and put the proof of it on the public blockchain, and no one even knows what, no one even needs to know what it is. You don't have to put all the information where people can read it on the public blockchain. You can put the cryptographic proofs on the public blockchain, which later, 100 years from now, 20 years from now, 5 years from now, anyone could go back and prove that this thing actually really did occur. And then at least you'll be using blockchain, because there's a lot of people who came into this industry late, and they're touting blockchain this and blockchain that, but in reality they just have a private database, you know. So if they want to hash their information and say, hey, here's a proof, that's fine with me.
I'm sorry if I'm asking again, but because the proof means that this is the transactions being recorded, but not the actual blockchain. So what we're saying is we would record the transaction log, but then all of the data would still be on either a private database or a permission blockchain database. Is that correct? Did I understand?
Yeah, you can keep the data on a private database or a private blockchain, but then you can hash it and put, you know, a 64 hexadecimal character on in the op return of the Bitcoin blockchain, and then it's provable. You can take the Library of Congress and create a 64 hexadecimal character hash and put it on the Bitcoin blockchain, and no one could change one period of the Library of Congress, or else the whole hash changes. And you say, hey, this was the data back then, and you say, oh, prove it? Oh, I'll prove it here. Run that through SHA-256 hashing function, and you're going to get the 64 character hexadecimal number and put it, and it's going to match up. If it doesn't match up, it's not real.
Yeah, hi, Nick. Oh, excuse me. Hi, Nick. Yeah, it's great that you're out there promoting economic liberty and all. That's really, somebody needs to do that. My question to you is, as you go around and you see all the various jurisdictions where the Bitcoin is being used and you're evaluating the regulatory environments, which of these in the world do you see as showing the greatest promise and having the lesser regulatory environments, or having regulatory environments that are more open to the advance of digital currencies?
You know, we've seen other countries say that they're for digital currency, you know, cryptographic currencies and blockchain and stuff. But then when it boils down to it, they end up not being. They just wanted to pull people in there that still can't get a bank account. You still can't do many things. So now we're very leery, and people won't just show up because you're saying it. You got to actually do something about it. And I think Dubai and Abu Dhabi right now, I believe that they're on the right path to be able to attract a lot of the financial industry of the world. I think it would be great for it to come here, where things would happen a little faster, a lot faster. I'm not saying haphazard. I'm not saying, without AML, KYC. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying that even with AML, KYC in the States, they're still working against us. I mean, that's what's really happening. They might say they're not, but they are.
The reason I ask, sometimes competition is a driver, and if people here know, and then where these other jurisdictions are, these might be driving the advance of the environment.
Well, early on,
Malta, Singapore. Do you see those as opportunities?
Yeah, Singapore is okay if you want to open an exchange. To let you open a corporation and create a cryptocurrency exchange. Malta's getting a little better. They had a big push. And a lot of people said, well, it's not really working out the way we thought. But I think they're going to get there. And, with the free zones over here, at least it's a way to open the door for innovators, because they closed the door. I had an incredible operation going next to the Wall Street there, next to the stock exchange, where we had hundreds of startups, maybe 100 startups. Many of them are the biggest companies now, because I chased them. I said, listen, you got to leave the States because they're going to stop us from doing anything. So you got to leave. So I chased many of them out. I said, you got to leave because we're going to be in trouble. And they moved out, and everything worked out. The ones that stayed, dissolved, because there was no way to actually make any money, because But when they went offshore, they were able to make money and innovate. So onshore, they had to beg for money to innovate, and that gets old when people are investing, and it's not happening as fast as they thought it would. Did I answer that question?
Okay. All right.
Who else? Come on. You can do it. Be bold. I told you to be bold.
All right. So
that's about it. Huh?
There's one last question. Yeah. Last question.
Thank you. So Nick, you've been to a lot of countries in the world, like a lot of countries that are out there, like Iraq, Venezuela, Armenia. You've been to a lot of former Soviet countries, countries that are outside the typical tech conference circuit. San Francisco, New York, Dubai.
Slow down. You're talking real fast.
Oh, sorry. What have your experiences been like in those parts of the world, and why do you think there's so much appetite for blockchain technologies in places like that people wouldn't typically expect to be tech hubs, like Armenia or Venezuela or Iraq?
Listen, when you have nothing to lose. So many of these countries greeted us with open arms because they did not own the world's financial system. They did not have, they did not own the Federal Reserve. They did not own Wall Street. So they greeted us with open arms, and they're moving towards creating wealth, or giving their people the ability to create wealth for themselves and create a higher gross national product, and being able to move around in the financial industry. So it's going to happen. The fintech is going to decentralize finance. Who's going to be the first? Which country is going to be the one that's going to be a habitat for this to happen, an incubator? Which country is going to be the womb to give birth to this new financial system that's coming anyway? It's going to come here anyway. So, if you want to stay behind, people who were behind before and wait and all that can happen too, whatever. But I think the time is now. There's never been another time to do it, and I went to all very small countries, and they all listened and took notes and moved towards adoption of cryptocurrencies and these new fintech products that are popping up, and they're all on board to some degree. I feel that if I stayed there, maybe it would have happened even faster. You know, in Belarus, he made a visa, 6-month visa. I told him to make a blockchain visa, a 6-month blockchain visa, and I think he made a technical visa. I don't think he called it blockchain, but I believe I helped him out with that, maybe. So, and other places. I don't want to get into, I don't want to get into the other place, but whatever. So I think the countries that don't have much to lose by way of ownership of the world financial system. If you don't own the whole world's financial system, you got nothing to lose.
Okay, can we have a round of applause for Nick Spanos? So